If I told you there was an animal on Earth that could see colors you physically cannot imagine, that punches with the force of a bullet, has armor that engineers are trying to copy for spacecraft, and processes reality in a way that no human brain can fully simulate, you'd probably say that sounds like science fiction. It's not. It lives in shallow tropical water. You could snorkel past one this summer. And that's just the first animal on today's list. Now, there are creatures alive right now on this planet that don't follow the rules. Not the rules of biology as we learn them in school, not the rules of what a body is supposed to be able to do, and some of them have been here for 500 million years. Some of them can survive in the vacuum of space. Some of them can even rewrite their own DNA while you watch. Now, these aren't aliens, but honestly, they could be. Let's start with the first one. The mantis shrimp. And let's start with the punch. The peacock mantis shrimp accelerates its club-like appendage at roughly 10,000 Gs of force. That's more force than I gave your mother last night. That's faster than a .22 caliber bullet. The strike creates a cavitation bubble, a pocket of superheated plasma at nearly the temperature of the surface of the sun. That hits the target a fraction of a second after the club does. So it punches you twice. Once physically and once with a small, brief star. Now, they regularly shatter aquarium glass. Marine biologists keep them in a specially reinforced tank. There are documented cases of mantis shrimp breaking out. But here's what I actually find more interesting than the punch. The eyes. Humans have 3 types of color receptors: red, green, blue, the RGB. Mantis shrimp have 16. Researchers initially assumed this meant mantis shrimp see a richer, more detailed color world than we do. Turns out that's probably wrong. The current thinking is that mantis shrimp don't blend color signals the way we do. Instead, each receptor type fires independently. They don't see more color, they process color in a way that has no human equivalent at all. Okay, so the mantis shrimp is impressive, but at least it lives somewhere sensible. Warm, shallow water, normal Earth conditions. The tardigrade, however, doesn't care about Earth's conditions. Tardigrades, also called water bears, are microscopic animals about 0.5 millimeter long. Live in moss, in leaf litter, in puddles, in the deep ocean. They've been found in the Himalayas and in Antarctic ice. And when conditions get bad, and I mean really bad, they do something no other animal can do quite like this. They dry out completely. They pull their legs in, expel almost all the water from their body, and enter a state called cryptobiosis. Metabolism drops to 0.01% of normal. They become, for all practical purposes, a tiny, inert speck of biological material. In that state, they can survive temperatures from minus 272 degrees Celsius, 1 degree above absolute zero, to 150 degrees above. Radiation doses that would kill a human 1,000 times over doesn't do anything to them. The pressure of the deep ocean doesn't do anything to them. And yes, of course, the vacuum of space. In 2007, the European Space Agency sent tardigrades into low orbit, exposed directly to the vacuum and solar radiation of open space. No suit, no protection. I mean, what are we going to make, like microscopic little suits for them and put them in there with tweezers? That would be impossible. Think about it logically, guys. A significant portion of those survived. They've been on Earth for at least 530 million years. They watched the dinosaurs arrive. They watched them leave. They are, by any measure, the most indestructible animal ever discovered. Although your mom probably thinks that I am the most indestructible animal ever discovered. Hello, stepson. Welcome to the family. Next up, the axolotl. It looks like someone drew an animal while half asleep. Feathery gills fanning out from its head like a crown, a permanent expression that can only be described as delighted, and feet that look like small hands. Now, I'm going to take a gander on my fan base and say you've probably played Minecraft, so you probably know what an axolotl looks like. But yeah, these guys are crazy. Axolotls are native to a single lake system near Mexico City. Lake, I'm so sorry, Xochimilco. I'm so sorry. And it is critically endangered in the wild, which is a tragedy because the axolotl may be the most biologically remarkable vertebrate on the planet. Here's why. Most animals, when they mature, go through metamorphosis. They change form, develop adult features, move on. Axolotls don't. They reach sexual maturity while keeping their larval features for their entire lives. Scientists call this Neoteny, staying in a permanent juvenile state. But that's not the wild part. They regenerate. An axolotl can regrow a lost limb. That's surprising, but not unique. Some lizards do similar things with their tails and such, but an axolotl can regrow its heart, its spinal cord, parts of its brain. Not scar tissue, not a rough approximation. Functional, correctly wired tissue, restored to the original design. Researchers have been studying axolotl regeneration for decades trying to understand the mechanism, because if we could translate it to human medicine, it would be one of the most significant biological breakthroughs in history. The axolotl does it casually. It does it in the way you'd regrow a fingernail. Now, in 2022, scientists identified a specific protein called c-Fos that appears to act as a kind of master switch triggering the regenerative process. It's one piece of a deeply complex puzzle, but it's the first time we've had a molecular handle on how this actually works. I have a molecular handle on your mother. Welcome, stepson, to the video. Please subscribe. Now, every animal on this list does something that breaks your model of what biology is supposed to look like. But the mimic octopus breaks something different. It breaks your model of what intelligence is. The mimic octopus, discovered in 1998 off the coast of Indonesia, doesn't just change color the way other octopuses do. It physically reshapes its body to impersonate other species, and it chooses which species to impersonate based on the context of the threat it's facing. Being approached by a damselfish, it flattens its arms, fans them out, and becomes a lionfish, one of the damselfish natural predators. Threatened near the seafloor, it tucks 6 arms into the sand, waves 2 in opposite directions, and becomes a flatfish. Scientists have documented it impersonating over 15 different species. Lionfish, banded snakes, jellyfish, sea anemones. This isn't instinct firing a single fixed response. This is contextual decision making. That's crazy. Reading the situation, selecting an appropriate strategy from a repertoire, and executing it in real time. In an animal with no centralized brain, an animal whose neurons are distributed, 2/3 of them live in its arms, the mimic octopus is making judgment calls with a brain architecture so different from ours that comparing them feels like comparing a laptop to a coral reef. Now, if one of those broke your brain a little bit, drop it in the comments. I want to know which one got you. I know you guys probably know a bunch of these animals already, but getting to learn about them a little bit more in depth is certainly interesting, at least in my book. And if you want to go deeper, next video I am thinking of going into the strangest places that these sea creatures have lived. Obviously, the Mariana Trench is going to be there, but there is another trench that you guys probably haven't heard about that is even crazier than that one. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed. I love you all. Have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.